Hi, my name is Robin Wong and I bought myself a new lens, the Kamlan 50mm F1.1 Mark II. I want to share my experience using this lens shooting over the past weekend in this video. Let's do this! Before we dive in, here are some important disclaimers. This is not a sponsored video. Kamlan did not contact me. They didn't send me any review samples. I am not associated with Kamlan in any way. I purchased this lens with my own money. This is an independent review. I'm merely sharing my experience as a professional photographer shooting with this Kamlan 50mm F1.1 Mark II. I am not a videographer. I'm not qualified to comment on the video performance of the lens. So what led me to the decision of buying the Kamlan 50mm F1.1 Mark II? I've been receiving some comments, people telling me that, hey Robin, the new and more modern lenses, especially the Olympus lenses, they are too sharp and too clinical. They lack character. The rendering is too flat. Therefore, I've been suggested to look into vintage lenses or manual focus lenses like this one, which has more simplistic optical design. Yes, there may be some compromise when it comes to absolute sharpness. There'll be some lens flaws there and here, but the rendering is more pleasing and natural, and the images have character. So I'm giving this a chance. So why a 50mm f1.1? I don't have this lens in my bag. 50mm is a very good medium telephoto range, and with the f1.1 bright aperture, I can use this effectively to isolate my subjects for that super blurry background, shallow depth of field rendering. I can also use this for low light shooting. On the official product page, Kamlan claimed that the 50 f1.1 Mark II has excellent bokeh, high level of contrast and sharpness, while keeping the weight and price reasonable. I bought this lens for about 650 ringgit from an online retailer. I'm really curious to see how this lens performs, whether it lives up to what Kamlan has claimed in the official website. And here are some images that I've taken at fully wide f1.1. Just to be clear, there was an older version of this 50mm f1.1 from Kamlan, the original Mark I version. I have not encountered that before. What I have here is the newer Mark II version, which Kamlan claimed that they have improved both the contrast and sharpness. I personally really like the look and design of this Kamlan 50mm f1.1. It is in all black, it is very clean and simplistic, and at the front of the lens there is that golden yellow ring that clearly differentiates this lens from any other lenses. The lens body is made of entirely metal. It feels really solid in hand. For a budget lens, it doesn't feel cheap at all. In fact, it does feel quite premium and reassuring. And the lens does come with a matching lens hood, which is made of metal as well. There are only two physical controls on the lens itself, the manual focusing ring and the aperture ring. The aperture ring is declicked, meaning that when you turn the aperture ring, it is perfectly smooth. Perhaps this is good for video shooting. I'm not a videographer, so for my photography, I actually would prefer the aperture ring to have some hard clicks so that there is indication whenever I change the aperture. The manual focusing ring is quite smooth and the throw is quite long. It does take some time to get used to adjusting the distance for manual focus, but this is not a big problem. You just need to spend more time shooting with the lens. The Kamlan 50mm F1.1 is not a small and definitely not a light lens. The size is about the same as the Olympus 12-40 f2.8 Pro. However, the Kamlan 50mm weighs significantly more than the 12-40 Olympus, and it's also heavier than the Olympus 45 f1.2 Pro. The weight is about 600 grams, so if you're using this lens on smaller and lighter Olympus bodies like the EPL series or the EM10 series, you'll definitely feel that it is lens front heavy. I've been using the Kamlan 50mm F1.1 on the Olympus EM1 Mark III. I have no issue handling this combination for long shooting durations. I've been shooting the entire day testing this lens. The Kamlan 50mm F1.1 Mark II features a very simplistic optical design. It has 8 elements in 7 groups lens construction with no mention of any special glass being used. I'm not expecting much from a budget lens, especially f1.1 manual focus lens, but the image quality, I do have a lot to say. The sharpness of this lens exceeded my initial expectations. Even if you shoot at wide open f1.1 aperture, looking at the center of the frame, the lens is able to capture plenty of fine details, good contrast, and the sharpness is truly impressive. It is really good for a budget lens. Stopping down the lens further to f2.8 or f4, the sharpness improves even more. And at f4, you can see that the sharpness is consistent throughout the frame from corner to corner and edge to edge. The Kamlan 50mm F1.1 Mark II features 11 aperture circular blades, which means that at any aperture that you choose, that bokeh bowl will remain perfectly circular. The bokeh bowls from this Kamlan lens look beautiful. This is perhaps something that a lot of other manual lenses cannot do. When it comes to distortion, I didn't see any. The straight lines remain perfectly straight. I don't think it is difficult to design a 50mm lens to control distortion. Unfortunately, this is where the good news on image quality ends. I do have quite a few things that I do not like and have issues with using the Kamlan 50mm F1.1 Mark II. The first thing being bokeh. Yes, I know having f1.1 super bright aperture and using it on a medium telephoto focal length of 50mm or equivalent 100mm, you can render very shallow depth of field. You can isolate your subject from the background, creating that background blur. There's no issue achieving that. However, looking at the bokeh, the background blur quality, it is not entirely pleasant. In fact, I find myself capturing a lot of messy background blur. The bokeh itself is looking really nervous and at times very distracting. This is counterproductive to what you're trying to do when you're rendering shallow depth of field. Having a very messy and nervous background somehow creates a very distracting background, which negates the effectiveness of isolating your subject in the first place. I've seen better and smoother bokeh rendering in modern lenses, and I've definitely seen more three-dimensional and better depth when it comes to using bokeh in your photography. This is definitely not the best lens to achieve that. In fact, I will rate that the bokeh quality is quite poor. The second issue I want to talk about is haze and bloom. This only happens if you shoot at very bright apertures, say wide open f1.1 to f1.8. There is that noticeable light smear, haziness all around the image. Somehow it makes the images look really bad. Although the images is sharp and it's in focus, somehow with the haze and bloom happening all around the image, it gives the sense that the image lacks clarity. Fortunately, this problem disappears if you stop down, say f2, f2.8. You don't really see the light bloom of haziness anymore. The third issue I'm complaining about is chromatic aberration. Initially, I wanted to give this a pass because, you know, this is a budget lens and it doesn't have any corrective elements in the lens to combat purple fringing or any other color fringing. However, looking at how bad it is, even stopping down all the way to f8, you still have traces of purple fringing. That is really bad. I would expect that stopping down to f4 or f5.6, you'll have almost no purple fringing at all. So chromatic aberration can be an issue if you're shooting in very high contrast situation with your subject and the edges and you have very strong light all around the image. Yes, the purple fringing does get very messy and distracting. I must admit, it is a big challenge shooting with this manual focus 50mm F1.1 lens. Being a medium telephoto lens at 100mm equivalent focal length with a bright open aperture f1.1, it is quite difficult to achieve critically sharp focus. I activated the focus peaking on the EM1 Mark III and I used focus peaking for most of my shots. Only on certain static and still subjects which I know I don't have to rush, then I can use the magnified preview to nail my focus. I'm still more comfortable using the magnified preview to get that critically sharp focus, but I know that this is not possible if your subject is constantly in motion and I'm a street photographer. I constantly move and the subject I shoot do not stay still for very long or they are constantly in motion. Hence, I use the focus peaking to approximate the area that is in focus, and I did get quite good hit rate. The images that I'm showing you in this particular video, I was quite happy with them, though I know some of them may not be 100% critically accurate in focus. Close-up shooting with the Kamlan 50mm F1.1 lens is really good. It allows you to go as close as 40 centimeters from the subject. That is quite impressive for a manual budget lens. At the website, the official product page, it states that the magnification at the maximum you can get is about 0.25 times. I think that's true for the APS-C size image sensors. For micro four thirds sensors, I believe you can achieve slightly more than that, perhaps 0.3 or 0.35 times. I do quite like what this Kamlan 50mm F1.1 Mark II lens can do. It is quite an enjoyable lens to use. I do quite like that it has very good solid build quality. It is made of metal and the image quality is surprisingly good even at f1.1 wide open. I do get plenty of sharpness, good contrast, and I'm quite pleased with the rendering of this image. Perhaps my only complaint, it is actually just me nitpicking. The bokeh quality could be better. I think that the bokeh is a little bit messy and nervous. It can be distracting at times. Then there is that haze and bloom issues, and the chromatic aberration can get quite bad. All these are not really deal breakers. I think they are quite forgivable considering that this is actually a budget lens. It is a medium telephoto 50mm F1.1, giving you the reach and the ability to render shallow depth of field, and with that super bright aperture f1.1 you can do a lot in low light. So overall I still think that this is a good lens, and I do recommend this to you if you're considering to get a manual lens or just want to experiment with a bright aperture f1.1 lens. Do you own the Kamlan 50 F1.1 Mark II yourself? If you have used the lens, please share your experience and thoughts in the comments below. I would love to hear from you. If you have found this video useful, please consider buying me a cup of coffee, or you can donate directly to my PayPal account. I'll put the links in the descriptions below on how you can do that. Any small contribution can go a long way. It'll help me to make similar videos like this to be published here. It'll definitely keep me going. I hope you have enjoyed the many photographs I've shared in this video. If you like any of them, please give me a thumbs up. Please consider subscribing to this channel if not already done so, and I will definitely see you again in the next one. If you can, please go out and take more photographs. Stay safe and take care. Bye-bye.